Um, I can attack my own defenses. That is true. Oh, my defenses are not great. I don't think they're great. To be honest. I need to fix them. Ah,
Hey, how are you?
wonderful. Yeah,
Hey guys.
you probably do have bad defenses.
Hey Sorlock, how are you?
See now we got the boss to yell at me about how bad I am.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I guess I can't really hear anything because I've got my laptop sound turned off. So, oh, hi guys. Wow. You're getting spammed like crazy now. Check that out.
Oh man.
Okay, so what do you... Please fix this account.
Well, mine? My account's
Yeah.
fine, guys. Come on, come on. It'll be fixed tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, so free rune removal is tomorrow, and hopefully everybody's thinking about, how they can fix their not only siege defenses but siege offenses. Certainly, I know in our main guild we've had quite a lot of discussion recently about how we're going to go about fixing a lot of our defenses. And the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've actually been hanging out in G2, really trying to get that G3 star, and it just hasn't quite gotten there yet. And I think part of it is our defenses are holding us back a little bit. So we've been trying to kind of come up with a different strategy on how we're setting bases when we take bases during siege, and kind of keeping in mind what bases are close to those bases. So for an example, we might have a full Molong base, and then if we take a base in front of it, we might fill it with another Molong base. So, but that's kind of like higher level siege type stuff. Where our third guild is, which is where you are, we tend to have a lot more laid back sieges. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I do nothing. I just sit there and watch.
Yeah, I've noticed that. You need to kind of participate a little bit more, but it's certainly, a lot more of a relaxed environment.
All right, so step 1. Fix
Yeah,
Duper's account, even though he's an NF2.
Yeah, well, I can't even see his account. Don't say your name on stream.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just learning how to fight stuff.
Yeah, so,
I still have your info, Duper. I can go on your account anytime I want. Just throwing that out there.
so whose runes were you talking about fixing tomorrow? Was that Duper?
No, Duper knows who it is. It is my buddy Kevin that I work
Ah,
with.
okay.
He's the guy who has... Oh, I'll show you. Hold on. He has all of the things in the game that I want, and none of the runes. Where is he? I think this is the right one. All right. See, he's got a Varad. Let's look at this Varad right here.
Oh my goodness. Wow, he's really slow.
Let's look at this Wusa. I got him to make him fast, at least. He's getting
Well,
there.
kind of.
Yeah, he's getting there.
I've seen worse, so that's not horrible.
Yeah, that's the one I told him to work on like a year ago. See, he has a Vela. It was I think his first Nat 5. I wanted to kill him.
Oh my gosh, wow, he's really slow. Oh my goodness. Okay,
You ready?
so-
You ready?
Yeah.
I just want to die.
Your most wanted Nat 5. Yeah. She's not very fast either.
No, he doesn't got the runes. Oh yeah, he's got a Gemini. He's got a freaking Iris.
Well, Gemini was a Hall of Heroes.
He's got a Frigate.
Oh, he's got Frigate, yeah. Oh my gosh, that is... No, that is not a frigate. That's like a wannabe frigate. Plus 54 speed? Come on, what is up with that?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, he's got another Vela. I didn't even know that.
Oh my goodness. And why does he even have runes on that thing? It's a 5-star. It hasn't even been 6-starred yet.
This is why I was going to fix it tomorrow.
Oh gosh. How about work on your own account first?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
step
go
one
back to Siege.
is fix Duper's Tian Lang. Step 1. Step 2, fix my account tomorrow.
Yeah, Duper, you need to farm runes. Get on it.
Yeah, I don't have a Gemini either. When was it?
Well, then you missed the Hall of Heroes then. It was probably... Oh gosh, it's been at least 2 years ago now, I think.
I mean, I know the dark one was. I have that right here. Right there.
Yeah, but the dark one was more recent than Gemini. Gemini was at least 2 years ago, I think.
100 years ago.
No, it wasn't 100 years ago. The game is celebrating its 5th anniversary, so it's definitely not 100 years ago.
Okay, so yeah, back to Siege. We'll do that.
So I think some of the folks who are on the stream now are probably interested in hearing about maybe some Siege defense strategy, some different team comps that they can put together for their own accounts. That would just be my guess. So, we'll let the chat kind of help us where they want to go, talk about some of their questions and stuff like that. Some of the things that we have talked about as kind of a guild and going through what we would like to see are some different things. If you're setting a defense, what are some things to keep in mind about what teams are going to be attacking that defense? And, some of the really common things are, can it be Lucianed, or can you bring like a Copper Bulldozer team? And, so one of the things that Com to Us actually introduced was the ability to test Siege defenses and test your own guild defenses. So I highly recommend when guys are putting together different defenses that they use their own teams to kind of test things out on them. So, and I'm not talking about just using like your typical, I've got one Lucian, so I'm going to see if I can Lucian this one, and, that's the only team I'm going to use against it. Try 2 or 3 different types of things, because what'll happen as a siege goes on, guys will run out of their standard use. So let's say you've got one of the perimeter bases at the early part of siege, and you've got a whole bunch of defenses that maybe they have to use their Lucians on. Well, okay, maybe the next time they see that defense, they don't have Lucian, but they have some other type of team comp that they can put together and still beat that defense. So try a couple of different, kind of teams against your own defense and see how easy it is to beat it. Certainly there are some standard teams that people use, but, like myself, I certainly have a lot of different monsters in my monster box. So I will try to come up with some creative ways of beating my own teams. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But it also helps me understand what sort of offense I can put together to beat certain things that I might see during a siege as well.
So I'm losing to my defense. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm just watching you. So you're trying to Lucian that. So
That
and
didn't
see
work.
that's a yeah, it didn't work. I mean, that's kind of a good strategy for guys to think about. And you know, if you want to even test some unusual defenses, it's kind of good to leave one empty spot on your kind of siege defense list, so you can go through and maybe set up different things that you want to test. Another thing to kind of keep in mind when guys are setting up defenses, do not set defenses that are all single element. That is probably one of the worst things that you can do, because it's very easy for somebody who, let's say you have an all fire defense, you're trying to make this to where somebody can't come in and just Lucian it. Okay, fine. So you've eliminated a Lucian offensive team coming in beating you, but if somebody has a very strong set of water monsters, they can easily take that team out. Not really a problem. So one of the things to kind of keep in mind is making sure that you use hopefully 3 different elements, worst case 2 different elements. So you don't want to put
I'm
together
worst
something.
case.
Yeah, you don't want to put together something like, um, 2 water monsters and maybe a wind monster. I mean, it's just, there's too many different counters to those types of teams. It's too easily beaten. If you want to look at a defense that's kind of harder to beat, 3 different elements is usually the way to go. And then some of the other kind of things that you want to keep in the back of your mind is there a way to sustain that defense? Is there some sort of support that you have? Do you have 1 damage dealer, or do you have 2 damage dealers? Because if somebody comes in and takes out your damage, if you're only left with, support monsters, there's no way you're going to win that fight. Another thing to kind of think about is, can you throw in some RNG elements on that defense? So things like Orion or Ludo, monsters that you don't really know what's going to happen. Sometimes those can kind of throw off the other team's offense, and you end up winning just because you have, either crazy violent procs, or, just, Orion himself is just like the king of RNG. You just, he's going to do his skill 3, and you're just going to be toast. So, those are just kind of some of the things to kind of keep in mind.
I hate Orion.
Thanks, Stuper. That's not what I was going for. I'm just sort of trying to, throw some ideas out there for you guys to think about.
A public service announcement.
That's right. I'm trying to help you guys out here. So, okay, chat, what are some of your questions about Siege? It could be offense related, defense related. I mean, we're just over here talking, and, we need you guys to kind of chime in so that we can talk about maybe some things you guys want to hear about.
Why not ignore defense with defense mons?
I'm not sure what that question is.
Was that about me fighting my defense with Lucian?
Maybe.
Because that's like the best squad to Lucian, because they're all basically defense based.
Right.
You just cut the head off the horse. Well, he's more HP based, but I have a lot of defense for no defense ring on mine.
Yeah, your Bulwark isn't that bad.
No, I just threw random runes on him too. It's pretty
yeah,
good.
he's
like
not that bad. Why not look at a defense, go over what makes it a good defense, or what might be the goal of the defense? So, kind of what I had mentioned early on is you really want to be able to stall out the other team when they're attacking a siege base. So there's a few different ways of doing it. One is, and it's going to be very difficult depending on what type of opponent you actually have. So in lower rank siege, and I have the benefit of being able to see sort of lower rank and higher rank. But in lower rank sieges, typically what I've noticed is they're not very organized. I don't know necessarily that they're spending a lot of time thinking about what goes into a defense, and they're not very coordinated. And what I mean is just people jump on the game at random times. They may attack 3 or 4 random bases and, they're done. They try to use all 10 of their attacks and then they're done for the rest of siege. They walk away, whatever. When you get to the higher level siege, that's when you see a lot of guys who coordinate their efforts in attacking a single base and they try to take it very quickly. So there's a couple of different things to think about. One is, can that base be soloed by one person? So if you think about it, if you have 5 defenses that are on a single base that are all the same type of defenses, so let's say you've got like a Kamoon, a Skogul, and some other monster, and you have that 5 times, it's a lot harder for somebody to be able to take all 5 of those defenses because they generally aren't going to have 5 counters to that. So what'll happen is when you're sort of on the lower end of siege, the guys who are jumping on and just hitting random stuff might take out 1 or 2 of those, depending on how many counters they have built. When you're in higher level siege, you may have 5 people attacking that base at one time, and they're going to take that very, very quickly. But the whole purpose and the thought behind that is make them use those counters early, and then if you can recycle that base, then they've already used their primary counters and they're going to have to switch to either a secondary counter or maybe a third counter, and they start running out of counters at some point. At the lower end of siege ranks, sort of the low G1, maybe the C3 area, you're just going to get people hitting at random times, and you're going to force them to use multiple attackers to try to take that base. So it's going to take them a lot longer to actually claim a base. And anytime you can keep a base, as long as possible in siege, you're claiming more points. So that's really the whole thought process behind that, is how do you keep your siege bases for as long as possible, and how do you make it harder for the other teams to actually attack you? Hopefully that answered your question, Duper.
And specifically, like, this defense that I have right here is pretty much just meant to out-sustain you and slowly kill you if you didn't bring someone with sustain.
Yep.
Because they all heal. They all not really do damage. Their skill reset. Counterattacks. It's just meant to stall and hope it can eventually kill you.
And one of the other things that we've kind of been toying around with lately is, how do you make the other team use up all of their immunity monsters? So, we have entire bases of nothing but Jean, Chandra, and a lot of them have Perna. So typically a lot of guys will use their immunity monsters against someone like Jean. She is such a pain. So what you'll find is, maybe those guys are using all of their Wusa or Velajul or Beta, whatever it is that's, that they want to bring against Jean. And when you put that base back together, so let's say the other team claims your base and then you load it up again with all of those Jean defenses, they may not have counters anymore. Maybe they only have 1 Wusa. Maybe they only have, 1 Velajul or whatever, Amelia, or, whoever it is that they're using. They don't have that counter anymore. So how are they going to counteract another Jean base?
They don't, they die.
Yeah, she's such
feeling.
an annoyance. So, that's one of the things that you kind of think about when you're setting defenses. Okay, so he's got another question. What might be the difference that you look in between a 4-star base and a 5-star base? That's kind of a good question. So typically what I try to tell people is on a 5-star base, you don't want to have a lot of your Nat 5s mixed with, let's say, 2-star monsters, because if you think about it, the other team is going to be bringing their best Nat 5s against your Nat 5 defenses. So I have noticed that there are some of our defenses that are very mixed, and when you think about it early game, a lot of guys don't have a lot of Nat 5 monsters. They may have, you know, sort of a sprinkling of them. Maybe they have half a dozen. So you're not going to be able to create a lot of just single Nat 5 defenses. So, you may not have 3 to be able to set on a single defense. You might have 2 Nat 5s and then a Nat 4 support monster. So that's kind of one thing that you got to think about when you're setting Nat 5 defenses. Try to make them all Nat 5s if you can. So if you have Nat 5 support monsters, put them on your Nat 5 bases with other Nat 5s. On your 4-star bases, one thing to keep in mind is try to get them max skilled, and don't put lesser rune quality on your 4-stars just because they're 4-stars. And I've seen this over and over, not only in our 3rd guild, but in our main guild. Everybody gets so excited about Nat 5 monsters that they want to give them all their best runes. And yes, I agree, in most cases, that's what you want to do. But when you're thinking about siege defenses, you don't want to put garbage runes on your defense. And that includes your Nat 4s. And sometimes the Nat 4 bases can be a lot more difficult for guys to claim because they're using lesser rune quality, and that's where you can actually get some wins.
I lose to Nat 4 defenses because I don't do my Nat 4 stars.
Yeah, see, I love Nat 4 defenses. They are probably my favorites because I know probably a lot of the guys on the stream here know my monster box. I have practically every Nat 5 in the game other than the LDs. So for me, it's very, very difficult to get all of my Nat 5s completely skilled up with Devilmons. It's going to take me forever. So Nat 4s for me are a lot easier to skill up. A lot of them I've actually fused and skilled them up that way. I even did that with the new Vampire Lord that we all got. I went and fused a whole bunch of vampires, and so now he's max skilled. So, that's one of the things that you guys got to keep in mind. Don't give your Nat 4s garbage runes, because some of them are really, really great monsters. For a long time, we were seeing things like a lot of Garrow defenses set. Yeah. One of my favorite monsters to use against Garrow is Stella. So Stella has an absolutely fabulous set of runes on her because I was using her very, very often against a lot of the Garrow defenses. Now what we're seeing is sort of a switch to a lot of Skogul defenses. So my Fire Boomerang, Maruna, actually has a really good set of runes on her right now because I use her very often against Skogul. And for that matter, I use my twins quite a lot. I'm not one of these folks who use Copper Bulldozer a lot. I do use him, the two of them sometimes, but what I'm seeing in the meta lately is, especially at higher level siege,
I don't use copper.
Yeah, there are so many copper traps out there now that it's kind of difficult to actually use that team for me. So I have pretty much all of my twins are on my best runes. And, not only are they great for things like PvE, dungeon runs and stuff like that, I find that they're fabulous for PvP. I use them all the time, and not only against Nat 4 bases, I will use my twins against Nat 5 bases and win a lot simply because my rune quality on them is really high. So that's one thing that I would say to kind of keep in mind, guys. Don't lump all of your really great runes on just your Nat 5s. You really need to think about what counters you have for those Nat 4 bases and try to give those monsters that you have some of your best runes.
And twins are OP in every aspect of the game.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, anytime I'm getting twins, I'm thinking about, should I use this as a skill up for one of them, or if they're already max skilled, should I make another one? I mean, I have duplicate twins now. I have 2 Talias, I have 2 Bailey, I'm creating another Shayna. So,
I
you
have
know, I
twins in all of my Rift beasts. Every single one of them except for Wind.
yeah. So how? Let's see. How to use twins with an attack booster. So it really depends on what you're trying to counter. And by the way, that's ping pong. Um, it really depends on what it is that you're trying to attack. So, with Skogul, it's kind of tricky because he has a lot of different support monsters that you might see on defense, and it really depends on if they're running that Skogul with Will. And of course, you're not going to know that if you're the first one attacking that defense. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind, guys, when you're attacking defenses. Remember if these guys have things like Shield Will, because if you lose and you want one of your guildmates to attack that defense, you want to be able to tell them that, because, I'll give you an example. If Skogul is on Will and you want to bring Maruna into that defense, well, how's she going to stun him if he's on Will? So, do you need to bring a stripper, or do you want to bring like a healer with those twins? It really depends on what's with the Skogul.
Yeah, it could actually work pretty well as a team against that. Garrochas and Darien.
You know what? One of our NF guildies is on, and he just said Chloe is common and Fran is common. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And even after Fran got nerfed slightly, she's still a great monster. Everybody has her. If you don't, you can get her with ancient coins. So I highly recommend getting a Fran. She's a great monster. Not many folks were using Chloe for a long time.
I still don't, because I'm a noob.
Well,
or Fran, because she's right there at 5-star.
Yeah. Oh gosh, what are you doing with your life? Come on, 6-star that girl. She's awesome. So those are some monsters that you can maybe think of ruining tomorrow during free rune removal. A lot of people are now using Chloe on KD5 teams, and if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's the Katarina Baeliger R5 teams that everybody's using now to try to get like 30-second R5 runs. So a lot of people have a Chloe rune. She might not be as fast as the old meta.
It's right there on screen.
Yep, there you go. So, that's just kind of one thing to keep in mind. Some of these support monsters can be really great, especially on the 4-star siege defenses. When you're going to attack, anytime that you can have a way of sustaining your twins, they will do big damage, and they usually can take out at least one of the threats very quickly. So guys might be asking, oh, hang on, we have another question. I saw like Garo Chasun Darien team against Kamunskobo Triana defense. That can work.
It really depends on rune quality on both, to be honest.
It really does. Skogul obviously is going to have a ton of HP. I mean, that's just how he's built.
Mine got 30 plus 30k, I think.
Yeah, so you really have to think about what can you bring that's going to cause him a lot of damage, because the real threat with him isn't necessarily so much that you can't kill him first turn. Every time you hit him, his cooldown is going down. So, okay, he throws his rock up in the air and it comes and smacks you in the face. Maybe you survive. Right, exactly.
Immediately.
Right. And if he's on violent, which I've seen quite a few violent ones lately, you never know if that rock is going to come down and smack you in the face right away.
That's terrifying, actually. He throws it up and it just immediately comes down.
Yeah, so, having a really fast Chloe can actually help with that. And you really never know how he's going to be built. I mean, I have 3 Skoguls that I built. One is on Violent, one is on Vamp, and then I made a Swift one just to try to get a really, really fast turn on him. I don't really use that one very much. I kind of prefer the Vamp and the Violent one, but yeah, it's...
Mine's just broken.
It's actually kind of funny. funny using Skogul on both offense and defense. He's a great monster. I like his versatility. He's just so much part of the meta right now that you really do have to have preferably a couple of different Skogul counters.
Mine is just hope he dies.
Yeah, you kind of have to have a game plan when you're going to attack a Skogul defense. And really, it kind of depends on what sort of side support monsters he has with him as to how you're going to tackle it.
Hopefully not a Raccoony.
Yeah, Raccoony, gosh, that's a great monster to pair with him on defense, just because if you're trying to stun Skogul so that he doesn't land that rock, Raccoony, especially a fast Raccoony, is going to cleanse that, and he's just going to be super annoying.
Yep, could make him go immediately multiple times. It's not
Yep.
a fun time. So that's actually just a 2-pair. That's alone is good enough, or a pretty good defense.
Yeah, if you can get either a speed lead with your Skogul or an HP lead, preferably speed. I mean, you really want him to get that rock in the air pretty quickly. Speed lead is going to be great with him.
I think mine just happen to have a ton of accuracy on substats.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just gave him speed runes that have speed on it.
Let's go look at your stats again. I want to see your resistance on him.
He's only 55.
Yeah, see, I would probably say that's pretty low resistance on him. Usually on Raccoony, you want him to be a little bit higher.
My resistance is bad on almost everything. I'm just going to tell you that now.
I mean, just one thing to think about during free removal tomorrow.
My Fang's got decent resistance. A little slow.
He has no accuracy. How does he land his defense break?
He does all the time. All the time.
Really?
Yes.
With 0?
Insane.
Wow. Okay. I would not have expected that.
This game loves me. It's fine.
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah, you're right. It didn't give me a Tiana, so.
I have 3. You want one?
Yes.
I'll trade you.
I do.
So I'm really glad to see we actually have quite a few people in here now. So what other questions do you guys have?
Oh crap! Hit wrong buttons.
Tiana is okay.
No, Tiana's great. Do you know how much better my arena would be?
You know what's funny? I actually don't use Tiana on my arena offense as much anymore. I used to use her a lot, and then I got Martina, and it's like, Tiana who?
Yeah, see, I would do Tiana, Libly, and Ciara, and like Galleon.
Yeah, that sounds very similar to an arena offense that I was using for a while. I had Ciara, Tiana, Bastet, and Dover. And that is a fabulous team to use. I had them all speed tuned and all of that. But
I need to ruin my Dover better.
Well, when it came to Rush Hour, it's not a very fast arena offense. So when you're trying to rush, you can't really spend as much time as you want to try to bomb everything with that team. So
it's better than Lucian, I swear.
Yeah, I agree. Bomb teams are infuriating. Yes, they are. They can be absolutely fantastic when they work great. But if your bombs don't all land, then you're kind of SOL because you're stuck there with not really a lot of offensive power if you don't land those bombs.
That's true.
So I, sort of decided to go not the Lucian route, not the bomb route. I just went the twins route because, like I was saying earlier, I put some of my best runes on my twins and I can just mow down anything. So my arena offense right now is Shayna, Diva, Martina, and Frigate. And of course, I'm using a speed lead, and with Frigate, I am almost guaranteed to get first turn. So, I will go ahead and do my attack bar boost, and then all 3 of my twins are close enough in speed so that all of them are going to take a turn. And I've got a couple of them on violent. So usually what will happen is when I look at the defense that I'm going to hit, I'll pick whichever I think is the biggest threat, and then I just eliminate them first turn. So that usually leaves me with, a couple of different damage dealers on that defense that I have to deal with. And it's actually really quick. I know it's not really all AoE. I mean, Martina's obviously single target, but I delete monsters so quickly that it doesn't really matter that it's AoE. So that's what I'm using lately. That's how I got G1. I had a fairly decent arena defense, and I don't really rush because it's normally like 1 o'clock in the morning for me on a work night. So I've only had to rush maybe a couple of times when I've had like Monday off. But it was a great arena offense. I highly recommend thinking about using twins. You can hit so many different defenses with that. The great thing about Martina, obviously, is I can hit all the Halthus defenses, and she just says, "Oh, hey, great, you have, invincibility. Well, mine now. Sorry, die." And it's great. So it's a lot of fun using her.
My arena offenses that I use to get into C1 is terrible, but it works.
Yes, Duper. I did say Diva, the light chakram dancer. I use her. That's my arena offense.
This is literally the offense I use to get into C1, and it works every time.
Well, see, with that, you've got a speed lead. You've got, some sustain from your Panda and from Perna. And Theo obviously is going to go crazy on Violent. So, I mean, that's a pretty good arena offense. The one thing that I would say about it is it looks like it would be kind of slow. So if you're trying to do Rush Hour, I definitely wouldn't recommend that.
I just get up as high as I can to stay in Conqueror for Rush Hour to end.
Oh yeah, well, if you're trying to push a little bit higher than that, I would certainly say that one's kind of slow, but it's a safe team, so you're not going to really get a lot of losses with that.
That's what I go for. Don't lose.
There you go. So how are your towers? Are they all max now?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, all right, good. So that's another thing I should probably point out for the guys who are listening. Work
if
on
you have
your
towers, you get really good. Unlike
yes.
mine, who are not used at all.
Wow, what is going on with those? Oh my goodness, you need to upgrade those. Holy cow.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, you can bruiser your way up to C3. C3, once you kind of break through that C1 barrier, I feel like C2 and C3 aren't very far behind. I feel like that first hurdle of actually getting into C1 is where it's difficult for a lot of people because the fighter ranks are so huge that when you start getting into those sort of upper tier ranks, you kind of think, okay, I can do this now. And so it becomes a little bit easier, at least in my mind, to try to get up to C2 and C3. When I actually went for G1, that is a very different experience. That is all about going as quickly as you possibly can in those last 30 minutes of rush,
having out.
Yeah, refilling as fast as possible and having a defense that either people are going to avoid, they don't want to hit it because it's difficult to counter with, let's say their Lucian team or whatever it is that they're using for their arena offense, or it's just going to be a stall team. People for a long time were trying to use things like Rena and that kind of stuff.
Duper, you should really at least get to C1 at least once. You definitely have the capabilities of it. I know you do. I see your stuff every week. I'm pretty sure your account is better than mine.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree. Guardian is way harder because you're talking about the top 300 on the server. So, you've got to imagine there's a lot of people out there who are trying to fit into a very small group of people. So, it's very difficult, I think, to get into the Guardian rank. So once you're there, you kind of almost breathe a sigh of relief, like, oh my God, I finally made it.
I was there for about 10 minutes once.
Yeah, Conqueror, I think, is difficult when you're newer to the game and you're trying to learn, what team comps work for you on defense, what's going to be something that people are trying to avoid. Because, if you use your arena wings faithfully and you climb the, if you have a defense that people don't necessarily want to hit, then you can keep that rank. If you kind of think about it, if you have a very
this defense, just stay away, leave me alone.
Yeah, I agree, Punk. It's very difficult to make a defense. There's counters to literally every single monster in this game, and it really depends on your rune quality, if you're actually going to win some of those defense matches, and just thinking about what's going to deter other players from wanting to hit you. So, like we were talking about earlier, things like Halphus, he is so annoying. When he goes below a certain amount of health, obviously he brings up his invincibility, and trying to clear that without either a heal block or, being able to strip is annoying.
I love those defenses. I just throw Chiwu in and they die.
Yeah. If you're lucky enough to have a monster like Chiwu, or maybe you're using somebody like Punkback or, Martina.
I've used Megan
those
before.
Defenses. Yeah, Megan can work. People forget that she has heal block, but Megan can work, especially if you're trying to use like a Lucian team. But typically the way you use that is, she does her attack buff rather than using her beneficial block. So it makes it harder for people to try to do that. So that is one thing to kind of keep in mind, that he can be annoying and he can be a deterrent. And certainly, people for a while there were trying to use monsters like Freya because you couldn't really Lucian a team with her on it. She does her sacrifice and brings everybody kind of back to full health. So that was a little bit annoying, but I don't really think those defenses work super great when you start climbing. But
if you think about teams to just not get Lucianed, it's not going to work.
Right, yeah.
It's got to be not get Lucianed and try to avoid everyone.
Right, exactly. And, you certainly can't avoid every single person out there. I mean, everybody has counters, like I said, to every monster in the game. It's just a matter of how are they putting those together as an arena offense, and, can you at least avoid some of the people who are going to try to hit you? You're certainly not going to avoid folks who are using things like Zyros, Tiana, Lucian. That's another one of my arena offense teams is Zyros, Tiana, Lucian, and Bastet. I mean, okay, I'm just going to mow down half the stuff that's out there with that.
Bastet?
Yeah, I love Bastet. She's a great monster. But, if you think about it, she's sort of like a beefier version of Megan.
Yeah,
so if you've got Megan, you can get away with using Megan. She's a great monster. I love Megan. But certainly if you have Bastet, use her. Oh yeah, so Samath, Tiana, Bastet, and I think you meant Lucian, the Wind Joker, not Lucian, what is he, the Light? I can't even think of his name now. The Light Adrian. The Elven Ranger, that's it.
Are we playing League of Legends, Duper? I didn't know.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Lucian, the Wind Joker. Yeah, double Lucian, people were using that for a while.
I still do.
Yeah, I never used double Lucian. It's funny because I built 3 different Lucians, and I use only one, but I use them with Zyros and Tiana and Bastet, so maybe that's why.
If I had any of those that you just said, I'd probably make that too, but those are 3 of the Nat 5s I don't have that I want.
Yeah, I assume the most common AOs are going to be Will, Cleave, Bomber, and Lucian. Yeah, I agree. I think you're starting to see more Twins teams now, though, because there's, they're just so popular with, especially monsters like Shayna. With her AOE. Yeah, her AOE, defense break, and her speed lead. I mean, she's a great monster.
Decrease.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, she's a great monster. Oh my goodness, I love using her. Yeah, Samath is still another one. He's had tweaks. I mean, obviously he doesn't do like strip on skill 1 anymore, so he's not great against like Halfus. You know, you could
Mine hurts.
kind of use him. Yeah, I mean, you could kind of use him against those defenses in the past, but you know they kind of removed that, so that's a little bit annoying. But he's still a great monster to use with his speed lead. So we kind of went away from our
Siege?
siege discussion,
That's
yeah, and
fine.
we sort of, yeah, that's totally fine. It's kind of whatever you guys want to talk about tonight.
I'd say let's look at guild battle defenses, but I don't use them. So,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sure.
what do you
Looks
got
like
for siege?
Pong's got a question.
Ugh. What do you do about Susano, Garo, and Orion towers? Yeah, Shield Will works, but not
Yeah, Shield
everyone
Will.
has Shield Will. Just run the
So,
same thing back.
so what he means by that, Pong, is try to bring a team that has at least one set of shield on them, and certainly they all need to be will. And you're not going to be faster than that team. You're not going to be faster than the Susano, Orion Garo team. You're going to be slower. So if you have enough sets of shield, you're going to be able to take a hit from that team, and certainly Will is going to keep you from getting like stunned and Orion doing his nonsense. So hopefully what'll happen is on turn 2, when it's your turn, you can eliminate that team pretty easily.
Yeah, if you ever just a tankier team, you can just out-sustain too. You just gotta hope. There's a lot of hoping involved in attacking. I'm terrible with 4-star bases because I just don't have good 4 stars ruined.
Yeah, I'll tell you, a team that I've used against them, which is kind of funny. Everybody probably has this who's played the game for a very long time. I actually was not playing Summoner's War when they released this Hall of Heroes, but Erados, the light sylph, is great against those teams. I've used him pretty effectively.
I
So
think
you
I might
just kind of
have
have
one
to,
of those.
yeah, he's actually a great monster to use against them. So you just kind of have to think about what
Maybe.
you have in your monster box that can take on those teams. Another one that I've used pretty effectively is Sue, the water Rakshasa. She's great against those teams.
Nope, don't have one.
Yeah, Stella, I love using Stella against Garo. It gets a little bit trickier when you throw Orion in the mix because if she ends up getting defense broken,
Yeah, she
she can
dies.
tend. Yeah,
Susanna
she's a
will
little
kill her.
squishy. Yeah, Susanna will hit her immediately, and then of course your damage is done, and you're gonna lose.
Mine's not
So,
squishy, but
I mean, mine's not super squishy, but certainly if she's got a
she's
defense
kind of
break on her,
squishy.
yeah, she's toast. So that's kind of a tricky defense to kind of hit, but Shield Will actually works really good.
Even
It's
though
very
Orion will
hard.
strip a will.
Yeah, and that's why you actually bring Shield Will because he's got 2 things that he has to try to strip, and it's harder to do that. Oh yeah, Ager Miang. That's actually good. I mean, you can't bring Tiana on a 4-star base, but I kind of see where you're going with that. Ager's another great monster. I highly recommend everybody build an Ager. He's a nice monster to have. Another one, and this is my secret to winning tons and tons and tons of siege battles,
Good
especially in higher
runes.
level. Yeah, get good runes. No, we see a lot of what I'm going to call revive defenses, meaning there's a beta or a Perna that's going to revive him, yeah,
Beta.
revive himself, or yeah, or Eladriel, those types of defenses. And a lot of times they're paired with like a Molong or some other big damage dealer. I love a Hall of Heroes monster that came out probably a couple years ago, Avarice. I love that monster. Oh, Triana. Okay, yes, not Tiana. He meant Triana. Good.
Avarice, yeah, mine's ruined real well. We went over this the other day, right?
Yeah,
It's great.
your Avarice needs some upgrades tomorrow. Give Avarice some. Oh my God, what is that?
Literally, I just put
No.
runes on him for world boss while I
No,
figure out
no,
what to
no,
do
no,
with
no,
him.
no, no. No. You need to fix that tomorrow. No. What is that? So, here's how I use Avarice, and hopefully you guys can kind of take something from this. I use Commune Speed Lead with Avarice and a healer. And I will bring that team against Molong, Perna, whatever. It doesn't
Raccooning.
really matter. It doesn't really matter who the next monster is. It's Commune, Avarice plus a healer. And so
That's
what will happen, and it cannot be a fire monster. Do not bring a second fire monster. So what'll happen is typically Molong is going to go ahead and reckless against my Commune. He's got a lot of HP. It's going to take Molong down quite a lot. If you have a healer that has a strip, like let's say you've got Praha, or in my case, I have Yanhong. I know you guys don't have Yanhong, but you can use somebody like Miyang, who actually has the same skill too. If the Perna has will, you can strip the will off Perna. You use skill 2 off of Avarice. It hits really, really hard against that Perna, and it's going to hit, I think it's a 3-hit turn. That Perna is gone. So you've eliminated Perna right off the bat. So Molong is already at 30% health. You've got a dead Perna, and then let's say you've got an Eladriel who wants to revive. Yeah, forget it. You can't revive. Sorry, buddy. You're going to sit there doing nothing. So the next thing you want to do is take out the Molong. So a lot of times, because both of those have a heal block on their skill 1, you can heal block the Molong. Whoever it is that they have as their healer can't heal him, and then you just take out the Molong on your next turn. So really what's left is your reviver, and there's nothing for them to revive. As long as you take out the threats with Avarice, it doesn't matter if you hit with skill 1 or skill 2, they're never coming back. So I have used that very, very effectively. I highly recommend building one. Everybody has a Commune now. Build an Avarice. You won't regret it. He's a fabulous monster. I have mine on like really crazy broken sets. I don't even have them on fatal or violent or anything. It's random stuff.
I'm not
as long
really
as I
a
have
fan
really
of
good
Arnold.
stats.
He's okay.
Can deal damage based on enemy missing HP. You can build him tankier. Yeah. So Arnold, here's the thing about Arnold. Yes, you can build, let's say, a double Nemesis Arnold, and I know some people actually use him as a Molong counter, but once he's countered Molong, he's not really great against the other monsters that they typically pair with Molong. That's where I have a problem with Arnold. I'm not really a fan of that. I actually have a max skilled Arnold. I don't even think he has runes right now because I literally never use him. I use Avarice all the time. In fact, I built 2 Avarice just for Siege. I find he's very effective. I actually have Rocky. She doesn't have any skill ups yet. I gave her a really great set of runes.
My Rocky is terrible, but I need to rune
She
her.
doesn't have Devilmons yet, so I can't really use her. She doesn't have a lot of damage yet just because she's not skilled up. But to me, Avarice is so easy to get and so easy to use. I don't really feel the need to build her yet, so highly recommend building Avarice. Everybody needs to have at least one.
Yeah, that's why I made mine. Just haven't properly ruined, That's what I say about 90% of my monsters. It's fine. We'll get there one day.
Yeah, so Pong's got a question about Harmonia and trying to skill up Harmonia. I really feel like the Heart Magicians are garbage unless they're max skilled. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I really feel like they have to have their skill ups, otherwise don't even bother using them. I have built 2 Triana and 1 Harmonia. All of them are max skilled. Um, but I kind of waited until I had a bunch of skill ups to start building the second Triana, especially. Um, they're both great monsters. People have sometimes asked, would you build a Harmonia over Triana or vice versa? I built Triana first. I find her personally to be more irritating because unless she's stunned and she gets her passive, she's gonna cleanse. She's gonna do nonsense. She just drives me nuts. Um, Harmonia, I feel like, is a little bit less annoying to me. So I only have one of her built right now, and she can be very effective on defense. I do like her on defense, especially if she's on a fast violent build.
She can
I
be
like
really
violent nemesis
annoying.
on her. Yeah, I like violent nemesis on her. She can be truly annoying. But
It's
I
normally how
personally
I
tend to use
lose.
Triana a little bit more.
It's
Yeah.
cleanse immunity. Cleanse immunity. And we
Yeah.
all die.
Yeah, she and some people will build Triana as I've seen them do this. Build Triana as a copper trap because a lot of people like to use copper against her. Um, it's kind of hard to build her as a copper trap in my opinion, but certainly you can, especially if she's on like let's say a
Hey,
Jean
Swag.
defense. Oh my gosh, Swag's here! Wow, we must be up like really early for you. Wow, it's like 6:30 in the morning for you. That's awesome. I'm glad you joined it. So, anyway, what other questions do you guys have? We're here as long as you guys want to chat.
Yeah, and then I'll go off and play something else.
Yeah. Oh no, you have to leave in 20. That sucks.
Bring me a kitty.
Hops with Avarice. Are you talking about offense or defense with Avarice? I personally would not use him on defense. He's just going to get Lucian. Okay, so offense. Like I was saying before, the one that I use the most often is Kamoon with him. I like him because speed lead. He's got his shield, and so if Avarice happens to get hit, if you've got a fast Kamoon, he's going to throw that shield on him, and he's going to give him a little bit of protection. And I always like to bring a healer. Depending on what team you're trying to hit, you may need to bring sort of a strip monster or immunity, just some sort of a support monster as your third one. I highly recommend somebody like, you can bring a Triana, you can bring Harmonia. I've used him with Wusa, I've used him with, let me think, Annabelle, Praha. It really depends on what I'm attacking.
I'm still trying to figure out what fast is too, don't worry.
No, no, not 110. I mean, yeah, give him a little bit of speed. You certainly don't want your monsters, if you're using them in PvP, to be slow.
I feel like plus 150 is really good.
Well, now I will tell you on my Avarice right
Not
now,
high end, but
no, I don't have mine that fast.
that would be really. I mean, in general.
Yeah. Oh, in general, yeah. Now both of my Avarice are somewhere in like the plus 79 range, which makes them about 180. And then when you throw in the speed lead, it's obviously going to make them a bit faster. So that's kind of where mine is. But I built mine for higher damage, and they're both a little bit on the tanky side. I really want them to be able to take at least one hit and not die. So that's kind of how I built mine.
Actually, that's actually probably pretty good.
Oh, on Kamoon 110. Yeah, that's actually not bad.
And plus 70 on Avarice.
Yeah, maybe if you can get a little bit more speed on Avarice, it's probably good. But like I said, I think mine's like plus 79.
More speed
and
without lacking stats is always good.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you definitely want your Avarice to be the one that's doing big damage. Are Are you talking about on Avarice?
Yeah.
I went attack, crit damage, attack. And then I went with speed subs.
But if you obviously need to have the speed rune on there to make them fast enough,
Yeah,
that's
if
fine.
you need a speed rune, definitely go one that has more attack subs. Like you want attack, crit rate, crit damage, or if you want to add a little bit of tankiness, you're going to look for something that's got like HP or defense. That's what you're looking for with him.
He wants every stat.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to get a lot of stats on these monsters, but you want to have at least a little bit of accuracy on him so that he lands his brand. So, I mean, that's kind of one thing to think about. But if he's going to kill with his skill 2, that's less important. I really tend to go more on the higher damage side. So, if you've got really nice runes that have decent speed subs, you can go attack, crit damage, attack on him. He's going to kill something. I mean, that Perna is going to be dead.
Mine definitely will be. Mine's squishy. What is this? Does he hit 3 times and does a brand? Avarice?
On
skill 2?
On Avarice? Okay,
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got his brand, and it's a 2-turn brand.
Oh, each hit definitely hits harder because you're lowering their HP.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love Avarice. He's such a great monster. Yes, each hit hits harder because his HP is getting lower, and if he lands brand on the first hit, he's going to hit even harder. So that's why you see Pernas disappear easily with him. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of fluff damage on Perna because my Kamoon is actually faster than my Avarice. I might actually hit Perna once with Kamoon.
A Kamoon's not fast.
Make him faster. And then I'll be able to do big damage with Avarice and just eliminate him. So that's kind of how I do it.
I haven't even looked at his runes in a long time.
I highly recommend you do that tomorrow. That is a great duo to have. And then you really just kind of augment whoever the third person is on your team based on what you're attacking. Oh my god, what are those runes?